Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here at the First Alert Desk. My name's Karli Barnett. We want to give you a look at some of the stories that we've been following for your Sunday. We hope everybody is having a really wonderful weekend, and we hope you're staying cool out there, which I know is certainly easier said than done. We have our crews all over Metro Atlanta getting ready for our newscast tonight. We hope you joined us this evening at 6:30, but if not, that's okay because we still have plenty of news ahead. You can join us at 10 on Peachtree TV and 11 on WANF. And of course, you can always watch us streaming on atlantanewsfirst.com or right here at the First Alert Desk. Now, in just a couple minutes, we're going to get to First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin. He has a look at your weather for your week ahead. But in the meantime, I do want to get to some of our top stories that we have been working on. This is one that our reporter Brittany Ford is covering today, a very somber anniversary, if you will, 50 years since a deadly shooting that happened at Ebenezer Baptist Church. This is, like I said, an unfortunate anniversary that we are acknowledging today, but people gathered at the church to show faith over fear, they said, and love over hate. So coming together despite just the worst circumstances. And among those who died in this tragedy 50 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s own mother, Alberta Williams King. It was 50 years ago that a gunman entered Ebenezer Baptist Church and opened fire. Alberta Williams King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother, and Deacon Edward Boykin were killed. Jimmy Mitchell, a member of the church, was also shot, but survived. We spoke with members of the church who were there on that day, and again, reporter Brittany Ford is going to have more on a service that they held there today, acknowledging the past, but also having faith and moving forward with courage to the future. This next story is one that has gotten a lot of attention on social media, and one that has had a lot of questions and still not a lot of answers tonight. But there have been two firefighters missing out of Liberty County in Georgia, and unfortunately the two were found deceased today. According to our news partners in Savannah, the Hinesville Police Department says the bodies of these two missing Liberty County Fire employees, Reagan Anderson and Chandler Kubander, had been found along with Anderson's vehicle. According to the Cocke County Sheriff's Office, their bodies were discovered inside a vehicle along Hollow Road in Cosby. That happened this morning. An autopsy is now being conducted to determine the cause and the manner of death. Anderson was last seen at the Liberty County Fire Service Station number 1 in Midway, Georgia. Kubander was last seen on security footage leaving the gym last Tuesday morning in Savannah. So still no information as far as what led to their deaths, but the Hinesville Police Department did issue a statement saying, "We regret to inform the public the bodies of missing persons Reagan Anderson and Chandler Kubander, along with the Anderson's vehicle, had been discovered in Cocke County, Tennessee. Details are pertaining to the discovery of their bodies, vehicle, and events leading to their deaths are not available at this time. We extend our deepest condolences to the Anderson and Kubander families during this incredibly difficult time." So, unfortunately, still a lot of questions, but we will continue to try to learn more about the circumstances that led to the deaths of these two firefighters. Moving on now to our next story. Our reporter Asia Wilson was out at the Braves Stadium today. Not for a ball game, though. This was actually for a job fair, and it was letting people of all abilities know that there are several opportunities out there, even if you want to work along with the Braves, and she explains how you can do that.
It's not everyone is fortunate enough to enjoy.
I'm very excited. It's a great experience so far. It's my first time out here.
Tori Rogers and Alexis Holland are high school students in Bartow County.
I'm very grateful that I got to get this opportunity. I mean, I feel like it's once in a lifetime.
They, along with nearly 1,500 students with disabilities from across the state, were at Truist Park meeting with key staff with the Atlanta Braves for a career exploration and networking event. The Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Agency partnered with the Braves to make it happen.
As we work with individuals with disabilities in school, it's our job to make sure that they're aware of the opportunities, not associated with just hospitality, but different opportunities for advancement and growth.
Katie Hearn, who's now a game day staffing administration manager for the Braves, used to be one of these students.
I am a former GVRA client as I'm blind. and the services that they offered me to help me transition to work were invaluable. And so it's important for us to give back and show that there are opportunities in sports and other business opportunities.
She and other staff spoke with the students about full-time and part-time positions. This includes opportunities on their maintenance, engineering, and creative departments. The day was about showing these students that there's no limitation on what they can do.
It may take a few steps to get there, but if you just keep on climbing, you'll make it.
A conversation that already has some of these students looking forward to the future.
Sports management seems cool. It seems super interesting. I know you have to do a lot of time for it and everything, but I mean, if you're willing to do that, it's a great opportunity.
In Atlanta, Asia Wilson, Atlanta News First.
All right, when I think of Braves games, I think of summertime, and of course, our quintessential summer holiday is coming up in just a few days. Can you believe the 4th of July is coming up on Thursday? So you may be preparing for some time with your family. Maybe you're taking a trip. Maybe your plans involve some fireworks. And we have our reporter Blake Devine covering this because we want you to enjoy the holiday, but of course, fire officials want to make sure you're doing it safely. Never a bad idea there. All right, we got some fireworks video for you here. It's important to keep in mind that just because backyard fireworks are legal here in Georgia, it doesn't mean they're always safe. There are some precautions you need to take. Atlanta Fire Rescue is advising people never to allow children to play with or ignite fireworks, even sparklers. Firefighters also emphasize the importance of carefully reading the instructions along with wearing fire-resistant gloves and long pants, and it's also important to keep a water source close by. Now, you may be wondering about when you can light those fireworks off. According to Georgia law, it permits the purchase and use of consumer fireworks. It can be used anytime between the hours of 10 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. unless prohibited by local noise ordinances. So always a good idea just to make sure that whatever city you happen to live in, that you're just double checking to make sure that you are in the clear to light those fireworks off if you would like to, and just to be sure that you are doing it safely. He's going to have much more on this tonight. He joins us from a fireworks superstore in Smyrna. I'm sure he's going to learn the latest and greatest in what all is available to enjoy your holiday. So, speaking of enjoying our holiday, of course, we're going to want to know the weather for the week ahead. And speaking of Truist Park, I figure why not? Let's go ahead and take you live out there right now. We're starting to see the sunset. It's looking absolutely beautiful. And First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin is joining us now. So we have the heat on, Cutter.
We did today. In fact, hard to believe, but today actually the most uncomfortable day so far this year. Even Atlanta recording a peak heat index at well above 100 at 104. That's the reason why we had many areas under a heat advisory today. It wasn't just the fact that it was hot, temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. Hey, we've been hotter than that, but it was the fact that we had more humidity along with the heat today, making it feel even hotter, and that is why today was just, we'll call it quite a bit more gross than the past couple of days. And I think that thankfully we have some slightly cooler, drier feeling weather on the way in the First Alert forecast. You just have to kind of bear through the next maybe 12 hours or so. We can get through tomorrow afternoon, and then I think more substantial improvement. Again, thank you for tuning in and for watching. I'm Atlanta News First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin here to keep you updated on what we have going on. And certainly there is quite a bit of weather to track. We have, of course, now Major Hurricane Beryl and the Eastern Caribbean, about to move into the Eastern Caribbean, really the Eastern Atlantic, now Tropical Depression 3 in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. And east of both of those systems, we have an area of low pressure that could develop into our next tropical system here before too long. We will give you the tropical update, give you the latest. If you have travel plans, that's the time to pay attention. But right now, I want to bring you back home. We do have some impactful weather still out there. Of course, today was a First Alert weather day because we had the heat, hotter than normal. Kind of had to plan around that if you're someone who's sensitive to those sorts of things. And now we're having some showers and thunderstorms pushing a little closer into the metro. We've had off and on storms all day long, just nothing in the city of Atlanta, nothing really tied into the metro until more recently. That rain chance will linger through about maybe 9-10 p.m. We're just now approaching official sunset. By 10, 11, midnight, we're going to drop your rain chance and no worries of rain impacting your plans. Not the case right now, though. Downpour to the south and east of Snellville, moving out of Gwinnett County into northern Rockdale County, could clip Lakeview Estates, into Conyers, perhaps into Covington. Beyond that, a little downpour here. Not everyone is seeing rain, but maybe some brief heavy rain for a couple of neighborhoods. And we had a storm earlier on the news at 6:30. Atlanta News First at 6:30. We were tracking a storm across Lake Oconee, producing quite a bit of lightning and thunder. That has now moved out of the area. Nonetheless, chance of additional pop-up showers and thunderstorms still in the forecast. We could still squeeze out a little bit more rain, so do keep that in mind. I think that in general, we're going to see that rain chance drop off as we get into the evening, but for the time being, and between now and let's say 10 p.m. or so, we still have that chance of some additional showers and thunderstorms popping up in the forecast. Bringing you up to the far northwest side here into Floyd County. This storm was producing quite a bit of thunder and lightning earlier. Maybe you're barbecuing or grilling in Rome, celebrating the Independence Day holiday a little early. Of course, it is the Sunday before Independence Day, July 4th, and you're going to be dealing with a little bit of rain here in Rome. And to the Lindale community, Cape Springs, maybe about 15, 20 minutes, give it that amount of time, and then probably, raining in your neck of the woods. In fact, we can go ahead and track this out. This particular storm, moving a little bit faster than some of our other downpours earlier, so it's not going to rain all that long, but into Cape Spring, perhaps top of the 9 o'clock hour, 25 minutes or so, rain could pick up, thunder and lightning. Might already be hearing some of that thunder in the first alert forecast. So going deeper into the evening, again, the sun will set, temperatures will cool, and we're going to drop the need for the first alert weather day this evening. We're kind of now officially 35 minutes past the expiration of the heat advisory, so it is getting a little bit more comfortable out there. They're still warm and muggy this evening. Your rain chance dropping as well. Long story short, the weather is less of an impact on the later evening. Now we're kind of getting into the later evening span here. The later evening plans, more so. It was an impact earlier, in the afternoon and the earliest of the evening hours. Overnight tonight with a mostly dry forecast. Again, once we're past maybe 10:30 or so, temperatures back in the upper 70s in Atlanta. But look at what's going on up in Ellijay, in Helen, upper 60s, lower 70s. That's a little cooler than it has been. Ellijay hasn't had a morning low temperature forecast in the 60s for several days now, at least 3 to 4 days. And that's a sign of some drier, slightly cooler air moving in. Now, I don't want you to get your hopes up if you hate the heat. It's still going to be hot tomorrow, but a sign of changes kind of filtering in from the north over the next, 24 hours or so. Out the door tomorrow morning commute forecast, not looking too bad. 77, 6 a.m., 78, 8 a.m., 80 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to give you a green light. Weather's not going to be a factor. It's a Monday morning drive-in. I know some lucky enough to have the whole week off. For those of us, though, that are still working this week as we await Independence Day, not a bad drive-in. Muggy, yes, in the city, but noticeably drier feeling, less humidity up in the mountains. Just have to give it some time. Have to be patient as that slightly drier air filters southward through the rest of the evening hours. So tomorrow, no first alert weather day. Still going to be hot. Temperatures peaking low to mid-90s. Today we're about 96, 97. In fact, I can check in with Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and let you know the official number. Earlier I was checking it. We were 96 for the high temperature. Let's see what we did officially top out at if they kept it at 96. And we reached 97 at 1:38 in the afternoon. So it was toasty today. Tomorrow maybe a degree or two cooler, though still obviously hot in the low to mid-90s. But I think by the time we get to late afternoon, early evening, you'll notice that it feels just a touch less humid. Might make tomorrow evening feel just a bit, not a lot, but just a little bit more comfortable tomorrow evening versus this evening. A slightly cooler, drier air filters back into North Georgia and Metro Atlanta. You look at this map, you may think I'm being a little silly here saying it's cooler with forecast high temperatures like these. However, that is still technically cooler than today. And tomorrow's 91 in Canton, cooler than today. Helen and Ellijay stay in the mid to upper 80s. So gradually, some cooler air is working its way back into the first alert forecast. We just have to be patient, give it some time, along with the slightly lower humidity and the slightly cooler condition. Less of a rain chance tomorrow, hour-by-hour forecast. I think we're dry through early to mid-afternoon. We will have to watch, a little front stalling to our south. Same front that's going to give us slightly drier feeling air. We'll have to keep an eye on the forecast tomorrow evening. Could see an isolated shower, thunderstorm. This particular forecast model wants to pop a shower or two, thunderstorm or two, very late in the day. So the vast majority of your Monday is going to be unimpacted by showers and thunderstorms. We're not really concerned about any sort of impact to your day from showers and thunderstorms in the first alert forecast. Going deeper into Monday evening, again, any isolated rain chance we have gives way to drier conditions overall. Though this particular forecast model, and this is some new data coming in, we're going to have to keep an eye on it. We have removed that rain chance for Tuesday. Front far enough south of us should bring in some slightly drier conditions. However, this particular model wants to pop an overnight storm Monday evening. Well, we already had that rain chance in, but wants to linger at Monday evening, Monday night, into early Tuesday morning. We're going to keep an eye on it, but right now it does look like we'll get a taste of generally drier weather. Here we are Tuesday afternoon, and the forecast model ends, but we are drying out in the first alert forecast. Before we kind of go over the 7-day and give you the recap of the whole picture here, I want to talk about the tropics. A lot going on. Newly designated Tropical Depression 3. This was as of this afternoon. They found that a system has a closed circulation and winds 35 miles per hour sustained, rotating in a counterclockwise manner down at the surface. And so they designated this Tropical Depression 3. It's moving to the west at 12 miles an hour. Some brief organization possible as it moves into mainland Mexico, south of Tampico, kind of near, in general, Veracruz here. This is not going to be a huge wind maker, not a big surge threat for these areas. Nonetheless, more heavy rain and the potential for flooding. This area has already been impacted by one tropical system, Alberto, and an additional tropical waves. Didn't have names, but produced quite a bit of rainfall in this area. What's really grabbing attention here is what's going on well to the east of this particular system in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, and hopefully my weather graphics are going to behave. Southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Again, we're tracking Tropical Storm Chris. There we go. Here's Beryl. Let's bring that clock, not that clock, but the graphic, I should say. Technology is nice until it doesn't work, right? Let's try to get this back to the front. Category 4 hurricane. Sustained winds 130 miles an hour, moving to the west-northwest at 18. It actually has slowed down just a touch. Approaching the Windward Islands, kind of the southern half of the Lesser Antilles there. The part that kind of tucks back in towards South America, that's going to be the Windward Islands, forecast to pass through that area as a Category 4 hurricane with sustained winds at 140 miles an hour. So more strengthening is forecast tonight into tomorrow. Emerging into the eastern Caribbean as a solid Category 4 hurricane, passing south of Haiti and the Dominican Republic Tuesday as a Category 3 hurricane, battling some wind shear as it approaches the central Caribbean, maybe wrapping in some drier air as well. Tropical systems don't like either of those factors. So weakening just a bit, passing dangerously close to Jamaica, could make landfall in Jamaica. Official forecast track, more likely to be just south, but we're going to be watching that potential. And then cruising kind of west-northwest towards the Yucatan Peninsula as we get into our Thursday evening, early Friday morning time frame, crossing the Yucatan Peninsula and emerging in the Bay of Campeche, the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. From there, it's possible could continue west-northwest into Mexico, very similar to where Tropical Depression 3, what's forecast to become Tropical Storm Chris is, or it's possible it could take a little bit more of a northerly turn once it has emerged in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Either way, no impact to our local forecast from Beryl nor future Tropical Storm Chris. However, we are watching another tropical wave. Just to show you how busy it is, spinning there in that counterclockwise fashion there just north of South America, that is Beryl. About 1,000 miles to the east of Beryl, halfway between the Lesser Antilles and Africa, another tropical wave, area of persistent showers and thunderstorms, has a 70% chance of development in the far eastern Atlantic Basin. Kind of unusual to see development that far east this early in the hurricane season. Of course, we know hurricanes form out there, but to have it this early in the season, really the Cape Verde season hasn't even established or evolved, and typically water temperatures out there are not as warm as they are right now. So that certainly is a contributing factor to the fact that we're seeing, the earliest ever Category 4 hurricane in the Atlantic Basin, and the furthest south and east Category 4 hurricane in recorded history. Again, things happen before satellites, before we monitor these things, but in recorded history, this is an anomaly. And hopefully not a sign for the rest of the season, but it is certainly possible. Again, next two names on the list. We have had Alberto. We now have Beryl. Chris and Debbie, just fact checking there, make sure I have the names right. Chris is the next name on the list. That could be the system in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Followed by that, Debbie. Debbie could be that system right now that's not officially a tropical system way out in the far eastern Atlantic. So we're going to be monitoring all this for you, keeping you updated right here on Atlanta News First Plus. Also tonight on the late news, we will get an update from the National Hurricane Center, both for Tropical Depression 3, Major Hurricane Beryl. Any forecast track changes, strength changes, we will let you know. We will be tracking it. If you have plans cruising around the Caribbean, going to the Yucatan Peninsula this week or the coming weekend, pay attention to that area's forecast. We will be keeping you updated again right here on Atlanta News First Plus. 7-day forecast right here. And we get a break from the heat Tuesday, upper 80s, a little bit less humid. Right now, no rain chance, but again, we're going to be watching that data. I still think mostly dry Tuesday. And it's possible we could completely miss out on the rain Tuesday, and it could be a completely dry day. So we're going to be watching that for you. 91 Wednesday, humidity comes back, mid-90s Thursday, mid to upper 90s heading into next weekend with a daily chance of isolated to widely scattered showers and thunderstorms back in the first alert forecast. And again, we will be keeping you updated on the tropics as well as your work week forecast, your Independence Day forecast. We will be live once again. Back on Atlanta News First on Peachtree TV, Atlanta CW affiliate at 10. All of that new track information from the National Hurricane Center coming on at 11 p.m. Going to leave you with a gorgeous look at Truist Park, looking back towards the northwest. You can see it's Kennesaw back there in the distance, the mountain, and then going further beyond that, that's that storm that we're tracking right now in Floyd County. Have a wonderful evening. Stay cool this week. We'll keep you updated.